Welcome to Beyond the Blue Line, episode 5. I'm Scott Findlay. That there is Stu Coles. No Ed this week. I don't know what he's doing actually. He's a very busy man of late. But on today's show, we are joined by head coach Kevin Moore. We look over the last weekend's game, a great 4-point weekend for us, and we look ahead to the home and home against Nottingham Panthers, and we will be joined by head coach of the Nottingham Panthers, Danny Stewart. But we have some news. We have a new signing, and to talk about the new signing, please welcome head coach Kevin Moore. Kevin, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're good. So we have the news today that we have signed defenseman Brady Puteau. What can you tell us about him, Kevin?
Oh, cool graphic. So Brady's a guy who's I think has a lot of similar qualities to Strids, who obviously we're replacing with Brady right now. He's just really consistent. I think that's the big thing that stood out about him was he's steady, he's consistent. He knows how to exit a puck. He knows how to be hard at net front. I think there's a lot of skill in there that maybe you didn't get to see in Fife last year because of how many minutes he had to play defensively. And, I was impressed with that last year, whereas in Rapid City, I think you got to see a little bit more of what he's capable from the blue line. And he's just a really just good guy. Like he fits our culture. He fits what we want in terms of a talented hockey player who's a good person. So, that's sort of Brady.
Stu?
Yeah, it's the consistency. I think one of the things I noticed that when I was looking up at his sort of bio and everything, he played a lot of time in the WHL, played in U Sports, played in some good teams in Regina, both Regina Pats and University of Regina. Then had his time in Fife and Rapid City, and then everywhere had been like consistent. On Fife, he was on positive in plus minus. He's leading Rapid City at the moment. Plus minus not always the best stat. People argue about it a little bit, but it does give a little bit of understanding to that sort of level of consistency.
Yeah, well, I think I'm not the biggest believer in plus minus, right? As you said, it's an imperfect stat, and you have to watch. But I think it can make you stand out when you're on a team that's records sub 500. Where if you're in that positive and you're compared against your teammates and half your decors in the minus, and then you look at the ice time, you can relatively guess that his previous coach really trusted him. Trusted him to play him in big moments. I felt like he had a lot of defensive zone starts, and generally defensemen who play a lot of minutes who start in the D zone a lot could rack up more minuses than normal, but obviously Brady hasn't. And I think that was a part of it, was like digging into the video, digging in, being thorough into situations he's played, being thorough into can he handle big minutes, being thorough in how did he grow from last year to this year, and making sure he was taking a step, because I think that's a big part of the identity of a lot of our players is they're competitors, and when you're a competitor, you get better every year. You don't just stay the same.
And he kind of fits the sort of, like you say, the sort of like the ethos. He's still a young guy. This is only his second pro year, so that kind of sort of fits in and gels quite nicely with the rest of the team.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it also, you hope at this point of the year that you've created a really good culture where anybody could fit in, no matter what stage of their career. But certainly, it'll probably ease his transition just to be with guys who are closer in age and connect on whatever they're all interested in.
And with this sort of like the consistency and the minutes and the defensive zone starts, you are really looking at that sort of what can we find to replace Jacob Strudsburg in that sense. It maybe not necessarily a like for like, because it's difficult to find like for like replacements anywhere in hockey, but he's coming in to sort of primarily do that role.
Yeah, and in some ways, and we'll probably split some of it by committee for sure, but we know he can log the 5-on-5 minutes. We know he can log the penalty kill minutes. At my core, I probably value 5-on-5 hockey statistics, analytics more so than anything. I think that's a good indicator of what you can do. So especially for him putting up pretty solid point totals in Rapid City without a ton of power play time, that shows that he should be able to move the puck a little bit 5-on-5, which is what I need. So yeah, I mean, we definitely want to replace what Struds is bringing with a lot of what Brady does, but I think we can also do it by committee, by just putting guys in positions to succeed and filling other minutes differently in some ways.
And do you think it helps when you're bringing somebody in mid-season that they do have a little bit of experience of what the UK League is like the weekends, back-to-backs, how the structure, etc., etc.? Do you think that helps when you're just trying to drop someone in? Or do you think it doesn't matter because culture will just take over?
I mean, relatively speaking, yes. Like, I think sometimes it's overblown about, guys have to know our league. And if you really press me on it, I'd probably be more aggressive in my words with that. But I think in this situation where it certainly helps a little bit is he understands that he's coming into a winning situation in a really tough league. Like he can relatively look from afar. He can see how we're doing. He can see how the league's gone this year, and he can basically take the risk for his career to leave his team and come to us, knowing that he's coming into a winning environment that's competitive and certainly doesn't want to back down to anybody. So in that sense, him knowing the league, primes him that way. But in other ways, like, good hockey players are going to be good hockey players. How many guys have come into this league as first-year players and done great? Like, how many players on our team are first-year players in this league doing great? I think it's overblown a little bit, as long as you can communicate what this league is, which obviously I was able to do after my experience last year, and you go from there.
And I think, are you looking at sort of like the longer term with sort of getting the sort of set up with the team, sort of planning for next year already with signings, or is it really very much a focus of just getting through the next game and the next game and the next game?
Oh, I'm just getting through the next hour. I just finished my practice plan for the U19 Junior Blaze. That was the most important thing right now on my list. No, because there are so many variables and there are so many dominoes that have to fall first when you have to construct something for another year. I used to, I mean, this is more NCAA, but like, I used to come home sometimes frustrated when we would just play fantasy hockey on a board when I worked in college. And it was like, we could get this guy and we could do this and you could do this. And you sit there for like 3 hours. And it was like 3 months later, none of those guys were available and you didn't have them. And you wasted 3 hours of your life where you could have, been present and enjoyed the day. So yeah, for me, I'm not even thinking about that. I'm solely focused on, whatever's next. So in this case, it's helping out the youth guys, and then it's practice tomorrow, power play meeting, then the games for the weekend.
And with the games of the weekend, obviously we sit here talking now. It's Nottingham coming up. What do you think the keys are going to be for the Blaze against Nottingham this weekend? The last 3 games haven't gone in our favour. So what are you looking at from a Coventry perspective?
Oh man, you're catching me on a bad day because I just watched a Belichick interview where former Belichick player talking about him being like, he didn't give any information up ever in these interviews for a reason. I don't know if I want to answer this. I mean, certainly we're looking to play more consistent, and it's no secret the game at their place, the last one, we choked that one away at the end. But like, I feel like the things that we needed to get better at from then we have. So like that in some ways that's an irrelevant situation for this game. Like, we're not going to waste energy on emotion to a game that's already happened. So I mean, I think for us, it's about establishing our identity early. It's about playing with the pace that we played with this previous weekend that we've been practicing in, and just bearing down on our scoring chances. I mean, we have the snipers to do it. And I mean, that's the thing about hockey for me, is like, your best players got to be your best players week in, week out. And usually when ours are the best players on the ice, we usually win the game.
And that was certainly the point this weekend, right? With the 2 wins, everybody turned up to some solid performances across, and that's got to give the guys a lot of positivity and momentum coming into the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're at our best. Our depth shows, and I think my trust in our depth shows. But it's making sure that everybody's dialed in with that like urgency and intensity that you definitely saw this weekend. And I mean, credit to the guys from 2-0 down against Cardiff. They're the ones who took accountability on that. They're the ones who took control of the bench. They're the ones who took control of the locker room. They're the ones who acted like true pros. And, I was just there to support them and help them be the best versions of themselves. So, they're in that mindset. Whatever adversity we hit this weekend, which you do every weekend, I know they're ready for it, and I trust them to problem solve their way out of it and, bring us success.
Kevin, there was the interview after the Cardiff game. I was a little surprised in what you said. You said, "That's on me," at the start of the game. What kind of were you referring to in that sense? You praised the guys, and it was an amazing comeback, but I've not heard you say something like that in the interview so far this season.
Yeah, well, I put a lot of pressure on myself to live up to the expectations that I put on the guys in terms of being the best versions of themselves. And, I just didn't feel like maybe I was bringing that intensity that they needed for a game like that. And I didn't feel like maybe I was able to get the points across that I wanted to in our game plan, maybe as clearly as it should have been. And it showed early. And I like to think we have a team where we're all in this together. It's not just about me, but I'm the one who sets the tone. And I didn't feel like I did that. And that's why I love this group, because they got my back, I got their back, and that's how it is.
Talking about someone who has got your back is Zack Henry. What he's been doing for this club is unreal, really. I mean, he led the minutes the other night in one of the games. You've put him in all situations. I mean, you'd rather him on the bench, but he's not let us down, has he?
No, he hasn't. I'm incredibly lonely back there without him. I think the thing that gets missed is I recruited Zack to Indy to be our power play defenseman in the playoffs. Like, he graduated. We needed a power play defenseman. My boss, Duncan Delmeo, was really he gave me a lot of freedom to recruit for us. He coached. He said, "Go recruit. You know how to do this." And Zack was a guy that just always impressed me with his selflessness and his skill and his brain, which is obviously why I hired him as a coach. But like, I know his game very well. And so to see him, I mean, he's choosing this. Like, I'm not sitting there telling him, "Hey, you have to do this." He knows he's the boss, and if he wants to play or not. And I'm incredibly thankful for him, and have a lot of gratitude for him as a person and a player and a coach. So you'd be very impressed if you could mic him up and understand what he's doing game to game as a player coach at that age. It's quite impressive. He's an impressive person.
Wow. Might just try and mic him up one day now you said that. Kevin, just want to wrap up with yourself. Just talk to us about how much of a miss Jacob's going to be. He was having a stellar year. I mean, he had a tough year in a battling team last year that was near the bottom, and he's coming in. He's a breath of fresh air on the back end.
Yeah, and I said to Jacob after the weekend how much I missed him and wish he was a part of the weekend. He's such a steady guy. He's got an awesome sense of humor. He's so detailed in his approach, and I mean this says it all about him. I was at the gym the other morning, and we have a morning group who lifts before Tuesday practices, and he was there. And so, like, we're gonna miss him on the ice for all his variety of skill sets, his consistency, his battles in the corner, his skill on the power play, all of that. But like, he's not being missed in around here because he's staying around. He's around. He's rehabbing. He's poking his face in. And he's like many of our players. He's doing school right now too, so he's a pretty multifaceted individual. I love Jacob Strudsburg. He's a great guy, great player, and it makes me smile seeing him every day. I mean, I saw him today, so we'll keep seeing him. He's not gone.
His master's dissertation is fascinating. Sorry, I'll just throw that in there. What he's writing on is really, really interesting.
Yeah, well, that's what gets missed about this team. We're 100% the smartest team in the league. Like without a doubt. I think we have like 8 graduate degrees, 4 guys currently in school. Like they're a pretty switched on group, which is I think why they're able to connect and why they're even successful athletes, because they just, everything our guys in that room have done in their lives, they go 100%. It's foot on the gas, and that's why I love them. They can handle a lot.
I'm not surprised by anything that you've just said. We'll let you go because you're busy, aren't you, Kevin? You're coaching again at this time of the night as well. But we appreciate you coming on, and good luck for this. Good luck for the weekend.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much, Kevin.
He's so infectious, isn't he? I know he's our coach, and I know we're biased, but I just love listening to him and how happy he is about how we're going as a season. And we'll talk about Brady Puteau there. I liked him last year when I found out that he was signing. Very, very happy. And to get a guy that's playing in the East Coast, and you got to want to come to teams in the Elite League. It's easy to jump to a team that's at the top of the table, and we've got that pull for him to come.
Yeah, like Kevin said, it's a winning situation right now. There's positivity within the camp. The results are certainly quite recently been going away. He's obviously got a flavour of the league from last year. He knows what the Blaze are about because he'll obviously have been to the Sky Dome and seen the facilities from as an away player. Pretty much, I think it's a great signing to make, and I think the key there is that consistency. Really solid guy, and I think that's possibly the one element that the Blaze on the back end have been missing without Jacob. Just having that steady influence. That's not to say that Zack hasn't done his best, but it's a different thing when you're coming in cold, where you've not played for 3-4 months, and you just jump in and you're trying to log 18 minutes a night if you've been doing it since September.
It's the continuity, isn't it? The D have been so used to playing together, and Matt knows how they're going to play. The goals we have conceded in recent weeks are not goals that we would concede with the full D complement. So sure, Matt's very happy with that, and I mean we've still got a fantastic 4-point weekend. But I'll be honest, after 7 seconds, we weren't looking that way on Saturday night. But I mean, the Cardiff Devils, they're short, as we keep getting told by their coach, but a fantastic comeback.
Short, yes. Like they've got players out of the lineup, but they still had 18 skaters on Saturday. That's only 2 less than the Blaze, or 18 players, 16 skaters, 2 goalies. It's only 2 less than the Blaze. So they were 1 D and 1 forward less. So I think, and I will also take the point that they did have some players missing that were, it's probably, some significant players out of the lineup that they would have been expected to be in there. But from the Blaze perspective, you've got to, and for any team in the league, you've got to beat the team in front of you. And the Blaze went in and had a tough start, but rallied round and got it and did the job in the end.
And at 3-1 down, you're thinking, oh no, what's going on? But we came back on hard, and that goal there late on in the second really was the catalyst. But from watching that game, I think we had the legs on them. I think they underestimate us at times. We're going to go into rinks and skate hard. If you're not skating with us, we're going to do some damage.
Absolutely. I think that Kevin did speak about, having the depth and having the skill players firing, and that's what helped. Nick Seitz with 3 on the night, was definitely part of that. But for me, the strongest point about the Blaze is the work ethic, like the skating and how hard they go for 60 minutes. Everyone keeps competing, and particularly on that goal, you see the fight there to put the puck in the back of the net. And that's what is, I think the strongest part of the Blaze, and what probably why we see Coventry doing so well in later on in games, because they just keep coming.
Does this remind you of COVID year a little bit, with Seitz camping himself in front of the net, very Matt Polkamp-esque in how we scored some goals, and Seitz with the goals he's scoring, he gets pushed around. I've never seen him react to a cross check. The guy is battered every game, but just wins by scoring a hat-trick.
Yeah, just stands there, takes his lumps, and gets the puck in the back of the net, and smiles as he gets on his way. It, like you say, it is that sort of Polkamp-esque, but he's got the frame to be able to do it. He's got the hands as well, and it works. And for him right now, first year pro, 21, 22 goals. Brilliant work.
And we joked about Clements of the one-timer. Boom. There we go. I'm happy with that one. I thought I was very happy when that one went in.
I was very happy when that one went in as well. And I imagine he was equally happy with that one. He had said, if you get in the puck, you just need it's there.
100%. And let's keep doing that. Let's keep getting the David Clements one-timers. Let's keep going for it. That was only the beginning of what would be a 4-point weekend, but the Steelers game, one of the best in recent years. The game had everything.
The game had everything, and it was an absolute thrill to be on the microphone and call that game. There was just so much going on. And you had two teams who were, arguably playing some of their best hockey of the year, going at it between each other. Some offensive flair. There was physicality. Both netminders were playing phenomenally. It was just a brilliant game to watch. And I think, I think you mentioned it on 3-on-3 earlier on in the week. If that was your first game of hockey, you're loving it.
I think both. Sheffield brought a lot of fans, which really helps to create an atmosphere. But what I liked was, I know there was the needle after the second goal for the Steelers, but there was hits being thrown, and they just got up and got on with it. And that is how you sell this game. Absolutely,
you get the physicality without the nonsense that you perhaps see in sort of other sports, but. There wasn't necessarily all the pushing and the shoving afterwards. Like you say, there was a little bit of fight after the Steelers goal, which I think we'll probably see in a moment. But it was by and large, let's just get on with the game, because everyone's doing as best they can to make it happen. If you take a silly penalty by getting yourself involved in a scrap, and you end up being the one going to the box where you've taken 2 minutes more than the other guy. The power plays, were certainly for the Blaze have been good. So you don't want to give them 5-on-4 time. So you've got to keep it tight.
Yeah, and we'll get to the second goal now for the Steelers, but there was the argy bargy, shall we say, and then you get Dowd coming in here, who is the middleweight champion of the league, but he's fighting Mr. Kennedy, who gives him a few licks, and a lovely scrap. The fact that there's no silliness after, I know I keep banging on about that, but that's what makes a game. You want a tough physical game.
Yeah, I agree. You know, both guys, Dowd and Kennedy, you know, got a few punches in, got up, went to the box. That was it. It was job done. You know, I've done my role. You've done your role. We'll get on with the game. And you know, I really like that from Mike Kennedy because he puts himself out there in sort of physical situations. He's always in and around it. You know, in the net. He leads the team in block shots. You know, he's always physical, probably far more physical than his size would suggest. But he's an absolute workhorse on the back end for the Blaze.
He is, and you wouldn't expect it like that. The pretty face he's got as well, and he doesn't mind having a few digs. Now, overtime was fantastic. I think we maybe got away with one with the penalty call. I can take my tinted specs off. Do you want to tell me I'm wrong, Stu?
I don't necessarily want to say that you're wrong. I do think it was a penalty, but I do think during the rest of the game, possibly those sorts of situations hadn't been called in the game, and maybe the argument is it perhaps wasn't consistent. You know, I think he's got the stick up. It looks like it might be around the hands as he's trying to take a shot. I certainly don't blame the Sheffield player. If I was in, you know, the Sheffield player situation, 2-on-1 breakaway in overtime, the guy's going to be clean through. You take his hands and you know that you take one for the team and hope that you can kill the penalty off. I think maybe that's the argument. Is possibly maybe it wasn't as consistent as it perhaps could have been, but I still think it was a penalty. So I don't think you can argue necessarily with the call in isolation.
I love it. I'm going to disagree, but we've all got opinions, aren't we? Talking about Mr. Moore saying about he brought in Zack Henry to be his top power play guy. Nice little assist for Chase there. And Chase Greasock, 22nd goal of the season. One of the best releases in the league for you?
Yeah, particularly on the wrist shot. So quick. Just a little flick. Doesn't need to get much wind up, and it just goes. The amount of power that he gets into that whip as well there. With, you know, two players in the line of sight there of Matt Greenfield, he's not got much to go on as to where it's going. And Greasock's picked the corner really nicely. Gets the water bottle. It's right up high in the corner. It's a tough one to stop. And it capped a great performance from him. You know, he got man of the match on the night, 2 goals, game winner. I almost feel a little bit bad for Matt Robson because I thought Robson was absolutely stellar at the back end and made some brilliant stops to keep the Blaze in it. And it's kind of what we've become accustomed to. Like, oh, Matt Robson's going to be brilliant at the back end and he's going to keep us in it. And I love that, you know, but, you know, sometimes I think, you know, perhaps he's, I don't want to say overlooked, but he doesn't necessarily get his flowers all the time.
No, he doesn't. But as you said, it's the 2 best goalies in the league over the last 2 years. And all our goals were pitch perfect goals. They had to be to beat Greenfield. So we're going into this weekend. It's a home against the Nottingham Panthers. And we are delighted to be joined by Nottingham Panthers head coach, Danny Stewart. Danny, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good.
Good.
So, Danny, we wanted to have a chat. Obviously, there's the Nottingham Coventry games coming up this weekend. We've not had a chance to really catch up with you. So, you know, just over the season so far for yourself and Nottingham, how do you think it's gone for yourself the first year there?
Really good. You know, I think I was brought in and taken care of right from day one, and you know, surrounded with a really good staff, I think, which is key to any bit of success, as I had a great staff in Coventry. And I think that's obviously helped me kind of make the transition a lot smoother. And in terms of our play and our results, I thought we got off to a good start in the cup, put ourselves in really good position there. And then when we got to league play, we got want to say stumbled, but we lost quite a few 1-goal games like nail biters, and I think, managing the whole, the Adam Johnson situation wasn't easy for a lot of people. And, but you know what, I tell you, I think we started 4-7 in 11 games, I think, initially in the league. And since then we've just played really good hockey and consistent hockey. And even on nights we haven't maybe been at our best, we've found ways to win hockey games. So, I mean, overall, I'm thrilled of the way things have gone. And, hoping that it continues.
And certainly from historically, the Nottingham Panthers are a team that expect to be in the conversation for trophies, and getting to the semi-finals of the Challenge Cup, being in the top 3 of the league. You're certainly in and around that sort of conversation right now.
Yeah, there's a good buzz around the club, and I think it's not just maybe from the results. I think the staff, Omar and Goody have done some great things off the ice, kind of rebranding the club and the team, and have made some situations better for the players as well, and guys are just enjoying their time. So yeah, no, I think everything said, it's been all positive so far.
And how do you find it working with Omar? Obviously, he's been a coach in this league. You've coached against him in the league. He's now GM. Like, how's that working relationship? Because it's obviously a different environment to where you were at in Coventry.
It's been good. He, I guess probably the best way to put it, and all in a positive light, he takes care of a lot of things that maybe I had on my plate in Coventry, and gives me the freedom to do my job. And he's been a great support cast. You look at even maybe just from a roster standpoint, we've been hit with some key injuries to key guys at extended periods of time, and he's brought in, initially Garrett for Zach, and Garrett's been phenomenal for us. The goalie situation with getting Brock in last minute with the last minute injury to Hunter Vorva. He was really good for us. And then when Vorva came in and then unfortunately left due to a family illness, bringing Jason Grande in, and again, another great acquisition. And then Mitchell Fossier, we right at the start of the year, we were kind of losing a lot of those 1-goal games. And then when we brought Foss in, he, essentially was giving us that extra goal a game, and it made a big difference to our results. So again, some unbelievable acquisitions, and they've been big for our success.
And you mentioned the buzz around the team, and it was something certainly I noticed over the New Year's weekend, both the game in Nottingham and the game in Coventry. Lots of people in both buildings. That's got to be good for guys to feed off of, to have that kind of atmosphere and support. Yeah,
no, absolutely. It's I used to always say, even when I was an opposing player, I used to love going into Nottingham, just the energy in that building, and the atmosphere was great. And, we've played some really good hockey at home, and that's a big contributor, no doubt at all. And guys love playing at home, and they love the energy in the building. And, games against you guys, games against everyone else, even going into the Skydome, seeing a full crowd, and over Christmas, and the league wide, just, full ranks everywhere. It's great to see for the league.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The more people coming out to see hockey matches wherever you are in the country is really good. And that translates to the guys on the ice, because your home form is good. You've got the second best home record in the league, and there's got to be something about the home comforts in Nottingham that's working well for you right now.
Yeah, and again, just like we mentioned, just the atmosphere, it's electric. The guys, they get up for them, and having the ability to win on the road too has been huge for us as well. And I think even recently, obviously last night, unfortunately didn't go our way, but in the league, I think our last 4 or 5, we've won on the road as well to put ourselves in a good spot. So, just looking ahead to this weekend, we know it's going to be a tough weekend. Coventry's coming off a big weekend, and, playing good. So we'll have to be at our best.
Maybe before we go to the specifics of the weekend, just talk a little bit about playing the same team back to back on a weekend. Regardless, how difficult is it to manage that? Often you see sides split results. It's really difficult to beat a team 2 times running at a weekend.
Yeah, I think I think from a pre-scout standpoint, it's nice for a coach. You don't have to prepare for two teams, and you watch one less game. So, but yeah, that said, you obviously, once you get through the game, you go through it, and you recognize things you did well, and things that you need to do better, and try to make assumptions on what maybe they might do differently, and and prepare your players the best. So I prefer it. To answer your question, I like playing the same team back to back. I think coaching aside, I think it there's a little bit more bite to the game when it's a back to back as well. So that always makes games more interesting too.
I have to admit, certainly from a commentary perspective, the second game of the weekend is usually the one that has a few more incidents, and because we typically play at home in Coventry on a Sunday night, that means our games have got a bit more to talk about. So it helps me out as well. So that's a nice bonus from our side. But it's just good to see some great hockey. I think. What are you mentioned about sort of pre-scout and looking at the Blaze? What are your thoughts on the Blaze from the outside looking in? Where what you've seen Coventry now 6 times, I think, and probably a few more with the games that you've watched on film.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing that comes to mind is how hard they work. They're a hard-working team, and they don't tend to kind of. I think they handle the ups and downs of games really well. They don't. They give up 1 or 2 and they get down early. They just keep coming, and they chip away. And at the same time, when they get up, they keep going as well. So I think there's a lot of skill there as well. A lot of guys with the ability to make plays. They got a lot of good shooters too. I think is a big strength for them. It's helps them both 5-on-5 and on their power play. And a few underdog signings that have definitely panned out and been good. Kind of diamond in the rough type guys. And you could see they got chemistry and they're playing as one. So yeah, it's I think they're a really good team this year.
Finding those diamonds in the rough, it's tricky. From your years of experience in recruitment, it's always difficult to predict. You can do as much due diligence as you can, but until you get the guys assembled in a room, it's hard to predict how it's going to pan out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, we'll all admit it. There's always an element of luck with your recruiting, right? There has to be. Some do pan out, some don't. But obviously, the more due diligence you do and the more digging you do and video, you obviously reduce that risk. But like I said, they got some great players there.
We're certainly looking forward to the weekend between the two sides. One other point to note around the weekend, this Sunday in Nottingham, we're going to be remembering Dale Keano for all of us. What can you say about Keano that probably hasn't, that was probably already been said, but what could you say about the man who you worked most closely with?
I love the guy. I mean, he was like a little brother to me, right? I knew him since I first met Keano in 2010 at Best of British Ice Hockey Camps, and brought him on. And yesterday morning was tough because I kind of woke up just slightly, just temporarily forgetting that it was his birthday. I had thought about it in the days previous, and I woke up to a few messages reminding me of it, and it was a tough reminder. But you know what, Keano, every time I think of him, I think the biggest thing is I just smile, right? Just the quirky things that he did and how he was around the guys, and he was just a huge ball of light. That was the best way to describe him. When he came in bouncing off the walls and full of energy, he just brought people up and put a smile on your face. So definitely miss him.
Yeah, certainly from my side, he'd always come up and say hello to us pre-game. He'd come up with his USB stick in hand, ready to get all the tape off Pete, and there'd be a chat and a friendly sort of how's everything, and it was and he always was, like you say, that ball of light and sunshine, and it's a real shame that he's no longer here with us, but I think it's great that we're able to remember him in a way that would probably be fitting, at Sunday at hockey, which is obviously such a big part of his life.
Yeah, it was. He loved the game. He loved the game. He loved being around it every day. Generally loved the guys that he coached. And, we had a lot of good times, man. And I think he'd be excited to be at this one. You know, whether he was involved with the Blaze or whether I took him to Nottingham with me, I don't know, but I think he'd be excited to be involved in this one. So, and I know Keno, knowing that everyone's remembering him in a game fitting for him, he'd be pumped up.
The one thing I think he'd probably be the most overjoyed. I don't often talk about special shirts. I'm never usually the fan of them, but the ones that the Blaze have got for this weekend, they are fantastic, and they are. I think he would absolutely love them.
Yeah, trust me, I'm the biggest critic of jerseys. Right, I get to see them first, and usually I'm like, nah, but I love it. I thought it was perfect, and I think they're great. They're perfect.
Scott's a big fan, I know.
Look, for my Scottish heritage and everything it is, and how much Dale meant to it. I ordered one straight away. Danny, just want to mention that you have played the first leg of your Challenge Cup semi-final. A tough 3-0 loss. I mean, I watched the game. It was I thought you were very unlucky. At times, I thought that Belfast just took their chances, but that home leg you've got in 2 weeks' time, you're still in the mix, aren't you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you know, I got to give Belfast credit. They shut us down pretty good and clogged the neutral zone. But you know, we did have enough chances, and I think probably the difference in the game was, I think they had a little bit more possession through face-offs. We got killed in the circle, and that gave them possession. And when they're playing with the puck, they're a dangerous team. And look, you know, you got to give them credit. I think they're the best team in the league right now. And but you know, we had enough chances. Unfortunately, we made 3 kind of unnecessary mistakes on their goals, and they punished us for it. So, and we weren't able to do that to them. And essentially that's the difference in why there's a 3-goal deficit. So, but yeah, coming back home, we talked about that atmosphere at home, and you know, hopefully we can go into that game and get an early one and get that building rocking. And you know, it's not easy beating a team like Belfast by 3 or 4 goals, but you know, in a cup semifinal, second leg, you know, there's that added pressure. So if you get an early one or even 2, it's game on.
Just finally on the roster you've assembled this year, Sam Herr was the talk of the town over the summer. You managed to get him in, but one of the players that have really impressed us and probably want to be one of our ones to watch is Didrik Hembrandt. Is like the season he had last year to how he's developed his game. These sort of players must be a joy to be coaching.
Yeah, I've loved coaching Deeds. He's skating miles. I mean, the guy skates more than anybody I've ever seen, and obviously it's obvious, you know, his skating ability, but I think sometimes his work rate can be underestimated. I mean, he never stops his feet, and I mean, by the end of the games, that guy is exhausted because he skates so many miles and he just never stops. And, you know, he's found his scoring touch this year, and he's scored some big goals for us over the course of the year at key moments. And, you know, he's been a huge part of our success this year.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to wish you success this weekend. You know that. You know the script, Danny, but we look forward to seeing you on Saturday and Sunday.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. I always look forward to coming back, and you know, we'll see you guys then.
See you the weekend, Danny.
It's hard. It's hard. In the sense of knowing that he was our coach for 8 years, our player for 4 years. It just seems weird seeing him being in the Nottingham Panthers organisation, doesn't it?
It does. Like you say, you know, 12 years all told with the Blaze in various forms. And now, you know, he sits across on the opposition bench, and you always, you know, you struggle with your local rivals. You know, you think, do you really want to see them do it? You know, I like Danny. I like what he did at the Blaze.
Yeah.
I thought he did a great job for us, both as a player and a coach. And you know, I want him to be successful, but just as you said in the script, just not against us.
Not against us. But we have got the home and home with the Nottingham Panthers this weekend, and it is the Dale Kean Remembrance Night. It'll be tough, but as we said in the last show, just a perfect way to remember him.
I think so. I can't see of anything more fitting. I think what the club have put together has been excellent. I'm expecting, to have a few more words and videos over the course of the next few days as we get closer to it. So yeah, I think it's going to be a good night. It's probably going to be a tough night, regardless of what happens on the ice and the hockey. I think there's going to be, some solemn thoughts at certain points in the night. But I think it is the best way that we can honour his memory, because he was really a key part of the club. So, and it's a big miss.
Big miss indeed. So that's it for this week's episode of Beyond the Blue Line. Big thanks to Kevin Moore and Danny Stewart, and a big welcome to Brady Puteau. So big weekend, Blaze fans. Let's go.